Hello and welcome to Garden Stories, a series celebrating gardening around Edmonton, Alberta. I am Jillian McPhee, and in this episode, I am chatting with Janice from JLynn Florals from Sherwood Park, Alberta. Janice is a floral artist and master gardener. A common thread that has tied all of these gardening stories together is a love for nature and flowers that began for most while exploring the outside world as children. This love for outdoors leads into careers and lifetimes spent appreciating the wonders of growing. It has been a mind-opening to recognize that my own childhood curiosities are what led me on my lifetime journey. Through talking with these wonderful gardeners and characters, I am relating and discovering my own story. Janice at JLynn Florals feels a connection to the flowers and to the significance of participating in personal ceremonies. Janice is truly connected to every aspect of the floral design and artistry because she grows the flowers and foliage herself. Her microflower farm is not a traditional farm with rows of field-grown flowers, but is hidden within an aspen forest glen. Making your way to the secret garden is a journey.
We do a lot of entertaining for our family because we have the biggest yard in the family. We tend to gather in this yard. And that's one of the reasons too. We spend as much time keeping it up as we do because we like everybody to come and enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's because they don't all have outdoor spaces like this or they live in the city. So it's a nice place for them to come.
Well, it's a nice place for them to come and connect with nature as well, right? So as soon as there is a different atmosphere when you come into a garden, and particularly this one where you are surrounded by nature as well. So I wonder if people mentally come here and they just slow down a little bit, relax.
I think they do. I mean, I do, right?
Yeah.
Or my husband after a day at the office, right? Can hardly wait to get home, right? And just be in the garden, get on his tractor, right? But I think too, guests as well. And also when I do floral workshops, right? I give everybody a little tour too before we start the workshop.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think they appreciate that because again, everything is so hectic these days,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
So it's nice to take a step back and just hear the birds and
Just
see nature as it. Some natural and some that we've transformed.
Yeah, but it's still working within the landscape, which I think is like you didn't just bulldoze everything over and turn it into a flat plain. No. So
we worked with what was here. Yes.
Yeah, and that makes it also special. Okay, let's move on.
The garden tour begins with an ascension up a quarry-like staircase dotted with beautifully designed annual planters and softened by hardy perennial beds. Next is a small traverse through a glade onto a path that leads into the woods. The aspens surround and protect multiple flower boxes, handmade by her husband, Jim. These raised beds spill over with heirloom blossoms such as Godetia, Chinese aster, bells of Ireland, honeywort, and standout dahlias. Each variety has been trialed over the years and selected for their beauty, strength, and staying power as cut flowers for bouquets.
Here we are in and amongst the dahlias. So I am going to ask you to name a couple of the varieties. So, for example, what is this beauty?
That one is peaches and cream.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so did a bride come to you and say, hey, these are the sort of the soft hues that I'm looking for, or were you aware of sort of some of the bridal trends that were coming and grew these specifically for that? Or were you like, this is what I love, and if you want a peachy option or whatever, this is what you will get?
For the dahlias, what I normally do is try to choose dahlias that store well, bloom profusely, and also look at the colors, like you said. But dahlias is one thing I do not grow specifically for a color palette. I just grow what works best for here, for what I have best luck with in this particular little microclimate area, right? Everybody's gardens are different, but they're certain ones that work really well for me, and they always bloom early. And like I said, they store wonderfully.
Excellent.
So I don't have to replace them, right?
The tubers can be used multiple times over.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and they're such a spectacular flower that really they're going to go with anything.
This particular one, yes. Not all of them.
No.
Janice meets with her brides a year prior to the wedding, not only to discuss their vision, but to give them a guided tour of the gardens. Janice uses these interviews as teaching opportunities to introduce individuals to the beautiful combinations that can be arranged from locally and sustainably grown flowers.
Do you find sometimes when you're making things, I just was listening to someone speaking about writing books and how they almost become like paralyzed. She's like, my body doesn't really move, my mind is no longer thinking, I'm just writing the words as they come out. And I find sometimes when I'm creating things or gathering stuff in my hands, that I do have those moments of quietness where the creations just sort of happen. Like I know that there's colors and textures and things that are coming together that I enjoy, but sometimes when you get lost in that moment, that's when the true magic kind of happens. Do you experience things like that?
Oh, definitely. I'm very fortunate that before a wedding, right, I do all my harvesting and I have, like you say, a vision of what I want to do, but because I have all these other flowers here, if that vision changes throughout the process, right, I'm lucky, right? I can just come out here, snip a few things and add them in. But yeah, it's not really a planned thing, right? It just it just happens, right? You just start making things and it just comes together. Sometimes I worry, right? I see 22 buckets of flowers and I think, okay, what am I going to put with what exactly? But as you start, right, it just flows.
It's a wonderful feeling,
it is.
Isn't it?
It's especially when you're done.
Yes, and you can look at everything and you're just like, how did that even happen? Right? Yeah, and then you see the smile from the bride or whomever is the recipient.
Yeah, that's the best part.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, so cool. I think it's really cool what we can do if we do support locally. It does make a big difference.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, and it doesn't limit your options.
No.
The options are endless.
Exactly,
still.
and that's one of the reasons too why I like to have the brides come out here so they can actually, part of this garden is education, and even for my other clients, not just the brides, but anybody that buys a bouquet from me, I offer them a tour of the garden because a lot of people don't realize what we can grow here and how fresh it is, right? When you're cutting it rather than shipping it and sending it by plane from somewhere. So no, that's, like I say, that's really important.
Well, and we can change their aesthetic too, right? Like, do you really need a bird of paradise?
Exactly.
Here?
And a lot of people don't realize until they actually come and see.
Yes.
And that's why it's important. They need to come and see so they can also envision different things, right? Other than the bird of paradise or the roses.
Yes.
Right? There are many other things that they can use.
Yeah, and get that same feel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also, if I don't have something in my garden that they may want, like for instance Lisianthus, I no longer grow because of the time frame it takes to grow it, then I will buy it I have a local flower greenhouse owner, and she grows with the same methods I do, so I feel really comfortable buying from her and using those if the bride really wants that type of a bloom or a bloom that I don't have.
Which is great. So then, you're creating a community. So
exactly.
in this series, we're trying to express and talk about how gardening affects the community and how it brings people together, and it spreads some joy.
Yeah.
It is a lot of work. There is a lot of work and mindfulness that needs to be put into it, but it's a different kind of mindfulness. The reward of what you do
Yeah.
is fairly
Oh yeah,
incredible.
I mean, I enjoy every single minute. Like you say, it's hard work, and I'm getting older. It's getting more difficult for me. But yeah, I enjoy every minute, and I honestly can't imagine what it would be like without it.
And just also connecting with the other people and
Exactly.
enthusiasts of flowers
yeah.
and growing.
That is one, I have to say, I'm not really a people person, but I have to say being part of somebody's wedding or a funeral or a birthday or an anniversary, it's so nice to be have just a little snippet or something to do with that person's life.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And hopefully, like I say, with the flowers, it brings them some joy.
So I've been privy to do a few pieces of work, and I have to say with the funerals, I mean, the weddings are wonderful, but also the funerals, because I often ask for a little bit of a background story. And sometimes even when you're chatting with someone, it's interesting how intuition comes in there. And you can almost intuitively pull something out of that person. And then when you go to gather either the flowers, I've been known to head out and get like wheat from the field or a Saskatoon branch, or even I've put things together with like a loop of barbed wire or something. It's interesting because you have to listen to that person, and then your intuition helps form something really beautiful to celebrate a life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
cool.
No, like I say, it's really
cool.
special. And I never, when I started taking floral design, I never even thought of that aspect of it. I was thinking more of the gardening side, the florals or the flowers themselves, not the relationships that I would make. So, and being, like I say, being part of somebody's special events in their lives.
Yeah, it's an honor.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It truly is.
Yeah, and then I think that they feel equally honored having you to participate in it because of all of the care that you put into it. It's wonderful.
Skills and intuition are a large part of the creative process, but you can't create without materials. Integrity is at the root of JLynn's floral business. Janice has learned throughout the years of growing and gardening which seeds, bulbs, annuals, and perennials will adhere to our climate and produce the most abundant and beautiful blossoms. Heirloom varieties of flowers that are uncommon to find in commercial markets are grown in her garden, often requested by her elderly family. Old-fashioned varieties of flowers are often hard to find. Collecting the seeds and growing these once common flowers is a way of sharing stories and ensuring these blooms don't fade away.
Like these to me are an old-fashioned flower.
Yeah.
These remind me of my grandmother.
Yeah, and that's what I try to do is grow heirloom type flowers. I don't. Yes, I do try new things. I always experiment a little bit, but again, it goes back to growing things that I know will grow well, right?
Yeah. And so it's funny because when I'm like, oh, what is that one? We were talking about the Godisha.
Yeah.
And there's a story with your mom and Godisha, is there
My
not?
auntie,
Your
my
auntie.
auntie asked me a few years ago if I was growing Godisha, and I hadn't even heard of it.
Yeah.
And she used to grow it in her gardens. I mean, the varieties have probably changed slightly since she grew them, but yeah, it's an old flower, and very few cut flower growers grow it. I don't think they probably knew about it either, and right, as I didn't.
Yeah.
Right,
So
because it's very uncommon to find it in a bedding, like in a greenhouse as well.
Yes.
As a bedding plant, you do see them occasionally, but not very rarely.
Yeah, well, and it is actually the elder clientele. They're like, do you have any Godisha?
But I think that's only because the younger people don't know about them.
Right?
Yeah.
So then again, this is that opportunity if they're traveling through, we can start bringing some of those heirloom varieties to light again.
Again, yeah.
And they're a reason. Like a lot of them came over here and probably started, my grandmother's, there was a fellow on the farm, his name was the Colonel, and he brought like asparagus from England and a bunch of different flowers from England, which they all grew and then kind of disappeared.
Every aspect of her floral business revolves around growing organically with sustainability and environmentally safe practices in mind. Earth, seeds, rainwater, and a labor of love are the elements that bind Janice's floral arrangements together. If a bride has her heart set on a specific flower that Janice cannot grow successfully in her garden, she will often connect with other local floral farmers to locate the special blossom. This helps to create a supportive community of growers. Every yard and growing space are unique due to soil conditions, slope, sunshine, etc. By sharing with and supporting one another, Janice and her associates help to create a healthy and growing community.
We're standing here and I've noticed a whole lot of pollinators going to town. Lots of bumblebees and lots of butterflies, etc. And that is because you grow sustainably, but you're also organic and pesticide free.
I don't use any chemicals. Reason being is when people buy flowers from me, I want to feel good about them being able to sniff their flowers without any harmful effects, and also for the environment.
We were talking also that I just think that this is just that extra level of specialness, that you will often work a little bit of aromatherapy into your bouquets for your brides to kind of calm them down.
Yes, I think it's really important. So there's always a stem that has some fragrance in it, and if I don't have a stem of like a bloom, I'll put in usually mint. So whether it's Peruvian black mint or spearmint or mojito mint, but yeah, there's something in there that they can sniff if they need to.
Oh, that's just so neat. Well, and then that's that's like another beautiful signature thing, all to your own.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, that's just so neat.
Janice appreciates the earth and uses environmentally safe practices. Flowers are held into place using stems as grids, natural elements, or reusable structures. Over the years, Janice has grown to know her garden and the flowers that will perform their best. Janice has learned and pivoted with the bridal and fashion trends, but remains steady on what is sustainable, grows the best, and lasts the longest as a cut flower. Janice is coaxing this generation into appreciating traditional flowers, but designing with them in contemporary ways. Supporting the locally grown movement erases the middleman, which saves on importing, transporting, and packaging flowers. Supporting local supports a healthier environment.
Just starting from seed, right? Growing it myself from seed.
Yep.
Bringing it out here and nurturing it, right? Growing it, harvesting it, and selling it to my clients.
Yeah.
So there's no middleman, it's all just me.
Yeah, I think that's so neat. Okay, and how you were saying, it's got to go in water. But often do you, like the brides in between, do they put their bouquets in water or they?
It's interesting you say that, because what I'm finding now is a lot of brides have their photos before their weddings. And I have run into situations where, depending on you got to be really careful the flowers you use, right? If that bouquet is out of water too long, it's going to start drooping depending on the flowers that you use. So I am learning from that, and I'm becoming very, very smart with what flowers to use and choose, and that also, right, is affecting. That's one of the reasons I'm growing some of the things I'm growing, like the callas, which kind of fell out of favor, right, for many years. But I've had a bouquet of callas and lady's mantle last through hours and hours without being in a vase and still look the same as when I made it.
Yeah.
Most of our time together was centered around the cut flower gardens. However, I have to mention the whole other experience of enjoying the landscape surrounding the family home. Pathways, bridges, creeks, and koi ponds dug, carved, and built by her husband Jim surround their household.
You know, we can create these beautiful landscapes, and and gardens, and we could talk about all of the different plants and perennials that we have here. That would be a whole other episode. But what I think I'm trying to get to is your story, and how this garden inspired you, affected you, and perhaps has inspired and affected your family.
Yeah, both, as I don't know if I mentioned before, but both Jim and I grew up in this area, and we were both outdoors all the time, so nature is very important to us. And just being out here and being able to have our family out here and raising our family out here, right? And just even, like I say, with our own children, our grandchildren, just teaching them, you know, a bit about gardening. They all have, or they all in recent years had their own little gardens where they could pick their own plants or grow their own plants. And like I say, to me, it's such an important part of our family life. Like I say, entertaining, just it's so restful, right?
Yes. Well, and it's something too, because you've created an experience. So we've talked about, so for example, your grandchildren and your children have had their own little gardens. So their hands are getting dirty,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
And they are surrounded by nature. They get to see the bees. They get to see the squirrel run into the woods and experience it. So
and
they're
catch
not
frogs,
right?
Yeah.
And see the fish and walk over bridges and hear the sounds of the gravel or hear the sounds of the
water
wood and smell the mint or the stalk, etc.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's just learning from experience versus learning from just being told. I think there's something very important in that, and it's creating a healthy generation.
Yeah.
And then those stories continue on as well, which is really important.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, like I say, family is very important to us. So yeah, it's just nice to be able to have them here and teach them, right, while they're here.
Yeah. Oh, it's so special. It's just really neat and important. So thank you for sharing your story with me.
Oh, you're welcome, Jillian.
I appreciate it
Thank
so
you for coming.
much. I appreciate it so much. Yep.
This part of the garden and the experience took years for Janice and Jim to create. Their children and grandchildren have grown up experiencing the sights, scents, and sounds of nature found there. Their children and grandchildren grew up watching ideas turn into reality through hard work, trial and error, and a steady push forward. I have always appreciated garden design, but I am finding as I listen to garden stories such as Janice and Jim's, I am learning to appreciate the memories made, wisdom gained, and the knowledge shared through gardening that spans across generations. In episode 3, we head to the heartland of Alberta, otherwise known as Fort Saskatchewan, to meet up with Miles Bennett Fadoon, a gardener, floral designer, and lifestyle artist. Miles has created an autumn-inspired fresh floral installation as a welcome to his home. It is a grand entrance, to say the least. Miles and I talk about gardening, floral design, and what inspires him to create.